I've just added about 3, maybe 4 tablespoons of olive oil to this. I'm going to get this really hot if I can. I'm going to add it to our little mash that we made up before. The good thing about olive oil is it's got a very high smoking temperature, so you can get it a lot hotter than you usually would with sort of a vegetable oil. You just maybe, I don't know if you can see, I can see just a little hint of smoke coming off, which lets me know that that is just hot enough. So just when you're pouring hot oil, be careful of course, you might expect a little bit of spitting here. That smells fantastic. I'll just give that a little mix in there. If camera Sue can get in. And we're just gonna, this is actually going to become a marinade, so we're going to let this cool down now in there for a little while. All those flavours aren't going to necessarily cook with the garlic and everything, they're just going to, the heat's going to let everything leach out. That's probably a better word than leach to use in culinary terms, but we're going to use leach for now. Our little concoction's cooled now, so it's time to add a little bit of fruit to it. First of all, we're going to add a bit of orange juice and a bit of lime. Now, with oranges and limes, people say this with limes, but don't usually say it with oranges. If you're cooking with it, or if you want a lot of juice, if you're going to juice your orange, just give it a little roll. It releases, or it breaks up some of the fibres inside, breaks up some of those cells, and it means you're going to get a lot more bang for your buck. A lot more juice for your... So here we're going to use roughly the juice of half an orange. Slightly less, to be honest with you, but whatever is left over in this bit I'm going to keep for our salsa later on, so I'll pop that to one side. We're also going to add, roll. If you've played squash, you'll know what you're doing here. So into the same squirter, whoops, going to add the juice of half a lime. So you've got that nice sweetness from that. You've got that nice sweetness from the orange there, and you're just picking it up slightly with a little bit of fruity lime. The thing with marinades, sometimes we use things like yogurt or yogurt, depending on where you live. We use lemon juice, a bit of oil. The acidity in the yogurt, the acidity in the citrus fruits starts to break down the fibres in the meat. That's why we use it, and it tastes really nice in the end as well. For people that don't usually cook, this could be looking a little bit more complicated, but you know, it's about life. What are you going to do? Watch TV, as I said before. You know, put on some music, have a few drinks, make cooking a bit more of an event rather than a chore. Why not? I'm just going to have a wee whiskey myself. Oh! What we want to do next is add the olive oil and the garlic and chilli mash that we made up before. It's come out quite well, I was expecting that to stick. And just add the orange juice and the lime juice that we prepared. Put that into a glass bowl and just give it a little whisk in there. Make sure that all those flavours are nice. Now remember, your mash will have cooled. Let those flavours melt together. Next, into that you want to add some chicken. Now we're using chicken breast here. You can use full or whole chicken. Just sort of portion it up. If you were doing that, if you're cooking chicken on the bone, I recommend maybe just getting a bit of colour on it and then putting it in the oven for a little while. Or you can do the whole thing in the oven when you get to this sort of point. Usually we recommend that you sort of marinate things overnight. We've got a lot of the lime juice and everything in here. The citrus in here is going to start to almost cook the meat. I don't know if you've ever seen that with fish. We'll probably do an uncooked citrus fish one day, but not today. So you don't want this in for more than an hour. You can put it in for an hour and a half maybe if you really want to, but definitely leave it for a minimum of 30 minutes just to let the flavours get in there. If you can, every so often just turn it around a little bit and just make sure that if there's any sticking above the marinade, it gets put in there. Put in there. Cut. I've juiced the other half of that orange that we had before, and I've got the other half of that lime, and we're just going to zest that slightly. Pretty important if you're zesting things. A lot of especially supermarket fruits will have a waxy coating on them. You definitely want to wash that off before you zest anything. If If you don't have a zester, you can just finely chop off some of the lime. Try and avoid the sort of the white pith that you get. And then you want to just finely chop that up. You can use a nice rolling action on your knife. Get that done. At the same time, I've just crumpled up some parsley leaves here. This is flat leaf parsley that I'm using. And just going to finely chop that up as well. This gives you a bit more body when you're chopping that lime up there for the zest. Hold your knife down at one edge, roll the knife backwards and forwards and move over whatever it is that you're chopping. Okay, so now it's time to cook the chicken. We've preheated a pan with just a touch of oil in it just to stop it sticking. We're going to pull the chicken out here, place it in. Still got a bit of juice here, but we're going to leave that to one side just for now. We just want to let this chicken seal. Colour. You don't want the chilli and the cumin seeds and things, your sort of drier mixture, to be burning on the bottom of the pan, so just use the chicken to move it around there. Once that's sealed, turn it over. We're doing quite a hot heat here. There's a reason for that, which you'll see in just a second. The reason we kept the pan so hot for cooking chicken quite as thick as this is that we're just going to add the rest of that marinade to the mixture now. That'll cool the pan down a little bit. Right, so this chicken's ready to come off now. What you may notice is that the sugars and the citrus fruit will bring out some sort of blackened colours. If you're not a fan of almost like Cajun style, you could call it. If you're not a fan of that, just get a bit of colour on the chicken in the pan and then finish it off in the oven and it'll be nice and bland for you. What we're doing here is just taking the chicken out to rest. When we rest, we put it on a warm plate and we just pop another plate on top of it there. And that just means it's going to be sitting away quite nicely there. So the next thing for us to do is in the same pan, we're going to keep a very low heat to start with. Those juices that we've just cooked with, we're going to add our lime zest, our orange juice and our lime. We're going to add a teaspoon of honey, which could take a while to come. So what I'll do in the meantime is add our soy sauce. See what we can do with this honey here. Now I intentionally here put a little bit too much honey on just so that we get the right amount. There's probably 1.5 teaspoons to 2 teaspoons on here. That just means that I know it's not gonna, I know it's gonna stick to this dish like you can see happening now, so that's why I'm not too fussy about getting it all in there. Right, so what we're going to do here is let this boil off and then simmer for roughly 5 to 8 minutes or so. And that's going to become nice and sticky. It's just going to take up the rest of the flavours that are in the pan there. We've got a couple of other things to add to it. So that shouldn't take too long. Next we're just going to add the herbs and the lime zest that we chopped before to our mango and avocado there, and we're just going to give that a little move around with our fingers to start with. Right, so our salsa sauce is reduced now, so we're just going to add a little bit of butter to it. Let that melt in. It's just going to add a nice bit of richness, a touch of salt from the butter as well. Perfect. Okay, so that's just cooled down slightly. I'm just going to add our Ilanga sauce to our salsa, or to make the salsa really. That's nice, thick and sticky. All those sugars are sort of caramelized in there. Just give that a little stir. The sauce is warm, the mango and the avocado are still room temperature, pretty much. just pour that over the top of your chicken. So that's our Ilanga chicken. We would serve this with any one of our alternative side dishes. If you haven't seen like our Zulu chickpeas or puff pastry biscuits and things, there should be links when they're all available in the description below. They go great, but we're not going to hang around too long because we're going to go and eat this now. We're serving this up with a bit of olive bread, but you can use any side dish, a bit of rice, vegetables, not with the fruit. A few green beans, that's another vegetable. A carrot.
More exotic.
An exotic vegetable.
Asparagus.
A Sharon fruit. Sharon fruits are great, man.
They go well with hellfire.